Okay, we're starting to record for today's live video. Just updating my comments or I think I'm live. I should be live. It's not showing up in my feed. Here we go. Should be live. Awesome. So now I can see my live chat. Then doing a little notice. Awesome. So if you're here and you can hear me, say hi. If you can't, sorry. Do the chat here so I can see it. I can't bounce back and forth. Answering a question in the chat, Sharif. It's easier for me to monitor one screen than it is two or three. So I have the YouTube live comments in on my phone for the live chat, and then that's about as much as I can monitor at once. So today we're gonna model a chisel storage rack. Very, very simple item. But going off of what we've already talked about drawing on the center and having your whatever you're going to draw is centered on your center point. It's kind of wordy, but so we're going to start with let's start with some parameters. Let's do this a little bit differently. So parameters, we're going to call this num chisel. So the numbers of chisel. So we're going to have a no units, and you'll see why in a minute. Let's just say we're going to have 8 chisels. It's a good number. So we have 8 chisels. Now we need to know diameter. 0.5. That's going to be the hole that we drill into the piece. We're going to need chisel spacing. Make that 1 1/4 of an inch. And again, you can call these whatever you want. We can have thickness, material thickness, 3/4 of an inch, 0.75. And if you're working with other units, then you can just use these. Or you can convert in your mind, or however you want to do that. But you can convert here. I can go to meters, millimeters, centimeters, microns, yards, a nautical mile, angles, currency. You know, some of these things I've never used. So we have number of chisels, diameter of the hole, chisel spacing, and material thickness. Hey, Sharif and Anthony, good to see you in here. Glad you can make it. If you have any questions along the way, please let me know. I'm trying to keep an eye on both screens. So I think if we put it, Sharif, I don't know if if it does the conversion for you. So let's try. That would be interesting. I can't change the unit in here. I can only change my parameter. So I don't think it'll do it on the fly. I think you have to actually do that for yourself. How's it going, Shogun Jimmy? So we have our number of chisels, 8, which we've created as no units. Because if we made that into inches, it wants to give it a a unit. So it wants to call it something. But if it's a number of something, it has to be no units. Otherwise, it wants to give it a dimension. And it's just a number of things. I hope that makes sense. That's why there's no units in this column or field. Yeah, I understand that, Jimmy. Okay, I think that's all we need to get started, and we'll know along the way. So I want to start my sketch. I want to select the top plane. I go to my center rectangle, and I just want to make a shape for now. Oh, let's go in here, material width. Let's call that 2 inches. Because we want to drive everything. I want to make that, sure you know that's important. Material width. So now that's fixed. And this one's going to be a little more interesting. So we're going to have parentheses, num chisel, times spacing. And I don't have to put, see, it's interesting there. I can just put ing, right? And it pops up as chisel spacing. Or I can put ch or just c. And everything in here that has the letter C in it will populate in this selection menu. So I know it's some sort of spacing. I might not remember. I called it chisel spacing. So chisel spacing, we're going to close parentheses plus close parentheses chisel spacing times 2. So now we hit enter, and that populates. So now it's telling us for 8 chisels, if you remember the formula, just so you can copy that down if you need to. This is why parametric modeling is very beneficial. Because what if you're making these for somebody else? This is why it's important. Your friend might have 6 chisels, or he might have 30 chisels. And you can populate this and change it on the fly. Your friend might have, or your client might have, different chisel spacing. And I realize I spelled that wrong. But it doesn't matter. It irritates me, but it doesn't really matter. The program doesn't care. So I have number of chisels times chisel spacing, because every chisel needs space, plus chisel spacing times 2. So I want my chisel spacing to start. I want spacing on either side. Does that make sense? So now I can enter, stop sketch. I want to turn off my origin because that's in the way. Extrude, I can hit the letter E on my keyboard, or I can hit this little button up here, which is extrude. And right here, it'll let you know I can just hit the letter E. If there's ever something highlighted, like R, dimension is D. Does that make sense? They're keyboard shortcuts. So I want to extrude this body, or this shape, by material thickness. Okay. And we're going to do, so now we have our basic piece of material that we would start. So this is jointed, planed, ripped, cross-cut, ready to go for actual operations. And we can give that an appearance right now, just to make it look like something. I happen to have a lot of cherry in my shop right now, so I'm going to choose cherry. Is probably what I'm going to make this out of in real life. So just to give you an idea, this is the piece of wood that we're going to be dealing with. So now I want to hover to the top. If you need more help with navigating this menu or your how to look at different things, just let me know in the comments, or I can do a very basic overview of the video. So now I want to create a sketch on here. And what this is asking me is, I've chosen the top face. So I want to make a line from one edge to the other. And you can see it's still blue because it's not tied down to any constraints. So while it's still active, I have to select it again. Now it's a fatter line. See that change? So now it's selected. Hit X on my keyboard, and that creates or changes it into a construction line. Now I can move this line a certain offset, 1/2 inch. Now this is going to be the center line of our, let's make that a little bit longer. So 0.75. That's going to be the center line of our circles, the holes that we're going to be drilling. So now I'm still in Sketch. I've created this construction line, a given distance from the front face. Because if you're looking at from the top, this is the back, left, right, front. I think that comes across as being clear. So now I go into my Sketch button. There's other ways to get these, but this is the easiest way. So I want a center diameter circle. So I click that. And now I can hover. See these constraints? When I pop to a line, it's asking me to place that point. So it's like a magnet. It wants to go to a line. So now it's the middle. There's our construction line. So I'm going to just put it, and I'm just going to put diameter. Okay, that looks a little bit far back. Let's check our parameters and make sure it is a 1/2 inch. So it's 1/2 inch. I want to move this up. I thought it was going to be 1/2 inch. So now we can move that whole line up, whatever looks good. And now I want to set this as spacing. So from the edge of our point to the center of the hole is chisel spacing. Okay. Does that make sense? All we've done is create a construction line in which we can place our diameter, our holes. We've created the hole, and we've constrained it to chisel spacing. Now, the chisel's not going to just drop in there, so I need more lines. So, and this is kind of, I'm guessing. Okay. This might not be 100%, so let's just zoom in so they're all the same. So I can put these here, here. I can give those a distance of 0.375 or a width of 375. And I can make sure that these are going to be centered on this. So I go here to here. No, I don't want that. Give me the other one. Dimension. Dimension. This line to this line. No. Now it's being fussy. Let's select this line first. It's not wanting me to do it. Dimension, let's go to the center of the hole. There we go. So whatever that is, So I can make this a formula now. So I highlight this and divide it by 2. Now this centers this opening or slot onto the hole. First we defined this line and then this line, and we can make sure they're parallel. So we can go into our constraints. I want this line to be parallel with that line, and they are. So I hit enter and then escape. Now it's over constrained because I've already tangent on this line. Does that make sense? So we've outlined the outside dimension of our line and simply took one line to the center of the hole to make sure this is evenly spaced on the hole. So it's kind of the same way you would mark that out in real life. So let's just go in here and we can stop sketch now. I like to look at it three-dimensionally. When I'm going to extrude something, so I hit the letter E, or again, I can just click this button up here. Whatever's easier for you. Now I'm going to select this whole profile. So this guy and this guy. And I want to cut that. So cut. So I have to go in here and go minus material thickness. So it automatically goes down to the bottom of my material. I hit OK. And that's our first chisel hole. Now it's pretty quick from here. We know we want to put a chamfer on this, so let's just do it now. So we can modify chamfer. Now I have to select this one and this line. This line, this line. And 0.125, see what that looks like. A little too much, so 0.62, which is basically a 16th or so. Hit OK. Now, we're going to use the feature in Fusion 360 that allows us to place the other holes automatically. We might have problems here, but I think we're going to be okay. So now I want to create a pattern. So all we do is create, mouse down to pattern, pattern on path. So I click that. I want to make sure my sketches are turned on. This is another reason why we chose our construction line as we did. So now I have to choose the inside faces of this chisel hole relief. So those three faces represent the chisel hole relief that we made. Everybody following? So now it's asking me to select a path. I want to select my construction line that we made earlier. So now distance, num, chisel. Or chisel spacing. Yep, chisel spacing. And now it's asking me for a quantity. So that's num chisel. So you notice when I tried to put the num chisel in, or the number of chisel into distance, distance is looking for a dimension. Quantity is looking for a non-dimensioned figure. I think that makes sense. So let's click OK and see what it does. Well, it didn't really do much. It didn't give me any spacing right here. So we did something wrong. So edit feature. So distance will be chisel spacing, maybe times num chisel. Yep, chisel spacing times num chisel. Now we've populated our field with holes for our chisel to go into. Now all of these are the same now. Because this is parametric, let's go in here and see what happens when we change a parameter. So I want 10 chisels now. See what happens. It still looks even. That space and that space are the same. These spaces are the same. Everything is good with the world. Now if we go back and change this to 30 chisels, just to show you that this works. So now we have a chisel rack made for 30 chisels in one rack. We'll go back here, something more realistic for what I own. I'm going to put in 8. I'm just going to shrink that back down. We can go back to fit, which is the magnifying glass with the square in it. Now we can rotate around and see what we've done. Now I want to go back here and delete this chamfer. Well, let's just, I have to delete it. So I want to delete this chamfer because I really went ahead of myself. So I want to modify, because I want chamfers everywhere. I don't want them all to be the same. So chamfer, and I just select everything. So it's telling me I have 93 edges that I've selected. So now for distance, 0.125 is a bit much. So 0.062, which is roughly half. Hit OK. And now you can see what that's done. So it's just like taking a router bit, a 16th of an inch router bit, and gone in and chamfered all of the holes, and all of every edge has been chamfered. So it's basically, that pattern command is not advanced, but it's not very straightforward either. So that's kind of the main idea between the main idea with making this little chisel rack. So I hope I mixed in some different ways of doing that, so you don't have to draw every single hole, and you don't even have to, what if my material is less? So I have 2 inches of material width, I have 1.5. I can see what that's going to look like. I think that looks better. Now my spacing, I haven't tested this out, so I'm kind of just seeing what's going to look like. What if my chisel handles are a little bit fatter? So I'll go to 1.5. Look, it still holds true. So that still works. So from my center of the hole to center of the hole is 1.5. And you might want that, but I want 1.25 inches, because that's what a standard Lee Nielsen chisel will be comfortable sitting on the metal part, because I don't want them sitting on the wooden part because they might fall out. So does anybody have any questions on making this chisel rack? Pretty short video, about 20 minutes long so far. If you want, we can save this as shop projects, chisel rack demo. We can do that. We can do a 10-hour bill, Sharif. That's fine. Give the people what they want. They probably don't want 10 hours of me, though, all at once. So let's just click render. And as we've gone over in previous video, this will automatically start rendering on save. There might be a way to shut that off. I don't know. But now while that's rendering, we can go back in here because it's already started. See the little clock faces? I can go in here to drawing from design. It's highlighting what it's going to choose. My parameters are set. I click OK. It's processing that request. So place our front view, it's asking me for. So let's just say 1 to 2. Yeah, 1 to 2 is going to be a good ratio for this. So my front view is placed. Hit enter. Drawing views. I click. I drag up. Drag over. I drag to this side. Hit enter. And as before, I like this to be a shaded thing. And I want to show, it's already showing hidden edges on this one. Yeah, because it's from parent. I want to turn on hidden edges on the side so I can dimension that. Now, it's a little bit, when you're dimensioning a hole with a chamfer on it, you have to be sure that you pick your major diameter. So I already have diameter up here on the list. You can get different things populated up here. There's normally, as you go down, I can click up. See that angular dimension is now up there. To get it off of there, I click it off. I think it is Sharif. Sharif is asking if this CAD for woodworking is better or above and beyond what SketchUp can do. To be honest, I don't know that, I don't know if SketchUp can do a parametric model. I don't know if you can tell it 6 chisels, 30 chisels, and it'll make the drawing. There might be a plug-in for that. I think there's no reason not to use Fusion 360. Everything's built in. So I'm on a different menu right here, and I'm going to show you how to save that drawing. But everything's built in. Your rendering is built in. Everything in model is built in. You can fillet, chamfer, shell, draft, which we can get into. We can scale our drawing. We can combine. So if we have two bodies and we want to put that into one, we can split a face, split a body, and we can create, we can mirror, which you can copy and paste in. All right, Anthony, see you when you get back, buddy. Thanks for joining. We can create a new component. Everything's right here in the menu. I don't need plugins. SketchUp is very plugin driven in my experience. Let's just kind of see where our rendering is right now. So it's already started. So you can see what this looks like, which looks pretty good. So that's our rendering. And if we save that, it's going to look like what the... Oh, ask any questions you might have. That's why we're here. Yes and no, Sharif. Sharif is asking if there are ways to automatically populate a cut list for a piece of plywood, for instance. There are, in CAM, you can do that. So in CAM, and there might be another way to do it, but I haven't done that myself. I've seen other videos where that's covered. If that's something that we want to go over, I can, because it is valuable. Like if you're building a set of cabinets or whatever, a bookshelf out of a piece of plywood, it might be nice to say, hey, this is my shape, throw it on some plywood. What I do is generally just draw the plywood and then pull a piece on top of it. Let's go back to our drawing. So I've selected dimension. So I want to select the inside hole, which is our diameter. So our chamfer isn't referencing that. I want to put a leader line on this edge, and I want to write 0.062, or make it easier, 1/16 chamfer typical. I'm going to close. I want to go here, hit enter so it looks cleaner. Close. That populates. Thanks for joining, Jimmy. See you when you get back, or next time. So we want to model we want to dimension all relevant dimensions. So here, so I'm going to go here. See, because it automatically populated our difference or our distance, so I don't really care for a 3-point decimal there. So I'm going to bring it down to 2. Now our thickness, .75 or 0.75. I don't like it down there. So I'm going to click my leader line, drag the gray square, mouse, and now it's there. And I don't like it there either. So I'm going to drag it again, mouse, done. I want to measure everything I need to make this. And I'm zooming in so I can get a better grab on these things. So I don't like that there. So I have to get out of dimension so I can grab. It looks kind of sloppy. So let's put it over here. Okay. I don't want these even. I'm kind of weird about that. Oh, so click, grab. It doesn't want me to. It doesn't want me to grab it. It's kind of even. Just I want it to look clean. Like this is kind of too high. You don't want it to be visually jarring. Select our dimensions again. Go over here, grab this line, this line. Can I display fractions? I don't know. Right here it drives a freedom or a non-freedom unit dimension, Sharif. If I click alternate units, it'll drive a metric dimension. I think I can. I'll have to get back to you on that, Sharif. Sharif is asking if I can make this, if I can call it out in fractions. So this is kind of really, this is a little too small, honestly, but we get the idea. And to save this as a PDF, this is another good thing we can do with Fusion 360. So my main title was Shop Projects. Title of my file was Chisel Rack Demo. And again, I can go in here, double click. If I take out demo, and I can put, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 chisels. 8 chisels. Hit enter. So now it says chisel rack, 8 chisels. You know, we can. So we want our total width dimension so we know what our material starting off is going to be. We want to make sure we grab on the outside of the chamfers. We can scroll up to see if that's going to fit. We put it right here in the middle because we know it's referencing the faces. So we know what our spacing is, which is kind of a weird number, which is fine. So we can save this, and it goes to my main folder, Chisel Rack Demo Drawing, because it's going to call this drawing. So I save. Now it populates. I can output that PDF. So I click OK. Woodworking. House furniture. Save. That's a fair point, Sharif. I don't think in fractions. So I've never thought about trying to put these in fractions. It's just not how my brain operates. So I really don't know how to do that. I mean, I know how to use fractions, but I don't know how to put them in the drawing. So because this is parametric, what if we go over here, like this is our master chisel file, our master chisel rack file, right? So we're going into production and we're going to be making chisel racks for everybody. I go over here, client wants 10 chisels in their rack. Click OK. I save. It's asking me to give it a description. I'm going to put 10 chisels. Or you don't have to call it anything. So now we have 10 holes for chisels. Over here, we can see that we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 holes for chisels. And it's giving me a warning. Something has changed from our master reference drawing. So I click this guy up here, the little warning symbol, and everything updates. I might have to move this around. Yeah, move. You can worry about that later. Because I don't want this on the edge right here. But you can see it's updated. Now it's no longer 8 chisels. It's 10 chisels. So I can output that PDF. Okay. Chisel rack drawing. 10. Well, I want to put it over here. So 10 chisel. Hit enter. Now I have 2 PDFs, one for 8 chisels, one for 10. And this dimension automatically populated or changed. So this is really the only dimension that changed because these are typical, which means they repeat. Does that make sense? Is that helpful to go over that? We can change anything we want over here, and it gives us a warning. There's going to be a little link button right here, and it tells us we can make sure that we're not forgetting anything by going up here and highlighting or mousing over this little chain link button. And it'll let us know that we're working on version 2, which is the latest version. Drawing is up to date. Perfect. So just so you can see how to do that again, we're going to go into our parameters and change this back to 8. Hit OK. Now it changes our master drawing. Go back over here. I didn't save it yet, so I want to save. Save again. Now once I've saved, I click the link and it updates. Now these aren't 10 anymore. They're 8. Does that make sense? Check our battery life. Well, we're fine on battery. I knew we'd get about an hour out of this video. All right. Can't seem to get away from an hour-long video. So we can check on our rendering. So what it does is it populates, or it wants to render a front, isometric. It just shows something random there. And then a top view. And we can save that into our file. I want to save this one into our file now. So we're in chisel rack. So I want to save, close. There we go. Does anybody have any questions on anything we've gone over in this drawing or any other drawing? I'll give it a minute to kind of see if anybody has any questions, or they want me to clarify something or go back over it. I'll just kind of play with the appearance on this. If I want it to be walnut. I don't like that. Okay, well, I don't think anybody has any questions about today's video. So I'm going to change this back to where we had it. Close, save, save. Nothing changed, but it's still warning me to update. Awesome. So I want to thank everybody that's joined today. And like always, thank you very much. If you have any questions or comments on anything that we've done in this video or any other, please let me know, and I'll be glad to go over that in a future video. I plan on having these. Anytime you have a question, I'll do a new video. So that could be every day, that could be every week, whatever you want. So let me know, and thanks for joining, and goodbye.